it's just funny. People, listening in Chicago and Los Angeles and New York and Seattle and, even small towns, like all these people that are using tap water. Let's say you're going to go make some rice and you throw your water in there. Let's just say you didn't get up to a temperature where it's going to kill it off. I don't even know what temperature would kill crypto. I don't know if you can prove that or not. But let's say you're cooking your rice and it's just at a simmer.
Right.
And then you're listening to our podcast and now you're about to eat that rice that you just cooked. Maybe that has crypto in it. So I think the whole house filter is great. And then I know you do and I do too. We add extra filtration onto the water that we're actually going to drink. So downstairs in my office, I'm using the Clearly filtered, which is this little pitcher. It basically uses the same technology, kind of similar to a Berkey, but it's just so convenient because I just put it under the sink, which is already filtered, put it into this Clearly filtered, and it's kind of a drip filter. But I do have the Berkey, and then I do have the a Pure Effects one upstairs, which is the one that you convinced me. You're like, man, you're going to get sick of filling up the Berkey. And I did. So then we got the one that's under the sink. So now you just turn on the little spigot and then it goes through the 3-stage system.
Yeah, I have one under the sink because the reverse osmosis, it's going to be a little bit stronger to filter out, because my whole philosophy is I have a whole house water filtration system. I use Aquasana. If you guys are interested, I only recommend products that I officially use. That's my MO, to be authentic. So justinhealth.com/water. And then you may have a link as well. We'll put it down below for any of your listeners. And I use that as a whole house. And that does a really good job. It's primarily carbon-based, so it will get a good chunk of fluoride, not all of it. It will get a lot of chlorine, a lot of pharmaceuticals out. And then I do the reverse osmosis because a whole house reverse osmosis is really expensive. It's much cheaper to do a whole house carbon-based filter that's more like bone char, and then just do a specific reverse osmosis in the kitchen where most of my water is going to be consumed or cooked with, so that I have that extra layer of protection. And then I use filters that have a post-mineral system, so it adds minerals after they've been added back, and then we put a little bit of electrolyte support on the counter, whether it's trace minerals or Redmond's real salt, so we can always pinch a little bit back in to add that water. So that way I have a more specific filtration for my drinking, and then I have a good global filtration for the whole house, and I could still drink out of any faucet in my house and it would still be really good and taste really good and really clean. But for that extra level of security, we do the RO. And then I typically just stock my work fridge with Topo Chicos. I love Topo Chicos. So I'll do some level of sparkling filtered mineral water. And then if I go out, I'll typically do Pellegrino. I'll ask for a Pellegrino bottle, like you said, Evan, just to make sure that water is extra clean.
Yeah. So also you didn't mention, but that the whole house carbon-based systems, those are also going to help filter out pesticides and herbicides as well.
Yes.
So there's some really cool research on that. It's not 100% once again, but it is a very, very, very important thing, especially if you live in an area where you've got farm runoff that ends up into your municipal supply. Fertilizers and other herbicides will end up in there. You did mention the pharmaceuticals. People don't realize that, but when you turn on your tap, unfortunately, yes, this is happening in a first world country like the US, you're getting blood pressure medications, trace amounts of antidepressants, anti-anxiety drugs, benzodiazepines, heart medications. That is all in the tap water. Yes. So no, you're not being crazy. No, you're not being anal to need this level of filtration. This is the modern world. This is what's happened. Think about the urine. People pee. Where does that urine go? You flush it down the toilet. It goes back to the municipal company. They do some level of filtration just so it doesn't kill you, and then they pump it back to your tap. So we are not being, I guess we are compared to the average person, but we're not really being above and beyond. This should be the standard level of care for everyone's water in their home, for their family, especially if you're in the shower. You're like, I'm going to brush my teeth in the shower and swallow some tap water through your shower. With the whole house, now you've got a shower filter that's included. You don't have to put a shower filter on. The whole house is already filtered. So
exactly. And I actually have to go change my filters right after this. It's a good reminder for me. So like kind of my standard workup for a patient that's looking to improve their water to, one, avoid crypto parasites as well as pesticides and drugs and chemicals, is go with the under-the-counter reverse osmosis. It's about $300 to $400. But once you factor in, if you have bottled water already, you're going to pay for itself in 6 months. And then you're going to have the convenience of the under-counter unit is always having that gallon or gallon and a half tank full. The problem with the Berkey or the Alexa Pure, those are ones that I have as well. I still have them for like, hey, power's out, like, hey, hurricane, a hurricane comes through and you lose water, you can at least put it outside, collect some rain, or just run, general water in the environment through it and clean it. So I like it as an emergency kind of thing, but I had too many days where I forgot to run water through it the night before. And I was like, crap, I have no water for my shake or my, morning drink, and I had to go without. So that's why I like something that's always working in the background. So that's why the under the counter is great. And if you're going to be in a house long term and you want to make that investment, go with a good whole house, because it's about $1,000, maybe $200 to install, but then you have it in all your guest rooms. If you want to wake up in the middle of the night and you want to drink some water out of, let's say, your bathroom sink, you can still do it, right? It's still going to be clean enough to do it. I wouldn't recommend it being your staple, but you can still do it fine, no problem.
Yeah, and when we were living in a hotel for a while, my daughter was getting a rash because we were getting exposed to very high amounts of chlorine from giving her a bath when we were at the hotel. So luckily, we had brought some of the stuff from home with us, and I brought our Berkey shower filter, and I just filled up the bathtub using the shower filter, and that removed like 99% of the chlorine. And it was amazing because you couldn't smell it anymore. The one I have for the under the counter, it's a little different than the reverse osmosis you have. It's the Pure. So the link is evanbrand.com/pure. The reason I liked it is because it had a non-aluminum based fluoride reduction filter in there, which was pretty cool. And then it was a carbon block. So it still tastes really good, and it still has quite a bit of minerals in it. You can taste it. And then the little clearly filtered one, that one, full disclosure, they gave that one to me for free. So the clearly filtered, the pitcher filter is great, but it's only like $50 or $60. And the link is evanbrand.com/clear-water. And that one is the little handheld, like, hey, you're at the office setting and you run to the bathroom at your office and you keep this water pitcher on your desk for $60, and it's going to be pretty dang clean.
Yeah, and we put all the links down below in the description, guys, and we're only recommending products that we actually use. I've been using a reverse osmosis by Aquasana and Pelican, and they've worked great. I've used them for about 4 or 5 years, and I've had my whole house system for 5 years, so I feel really, really good about it. And just be very mindful, if you do have hard water in your area, you may need to get if you're doing a whole house, you may need to do some kind of a system that softens the water as well, because hard water can kind of clog the filters a little bit faster. So just if you're going to be looking at that, make sure you assess if you have hard water or not. Most people know because you kind of see the mineral residue on a lot of things after the fact. If you do, make sure you factor that in if you're getting a whole house.
All right, I got one more thing to say about water, and then let's move on and talk about lab testing, and then maybe a couple herbs we use to kill crypto. Okay, so the Brita, the Pure, like the PUR brand, anything you can commercially buy at Target, Walmart, etc., those things give you a false sense of security. They are garbage. Yes, a Brita and a Pure and some of these other zero water, yes, they can filter out some heavy metals, lead, mercury, cadmium, arsenic, etc. But in comparisons to the ones we're talking about, we're talking about the little Geo Metro, little Ford Pinto piece of garbage can get you on the highway, but barely, versus like the Lexus of water filtration. There's a huge difference in quality. So I don't want people listening to say, oh, I use my fridge filter. I ask that question on my intake form for every new client. How do you filter your water, if at all? So many people say, I use the filter on my fridge. First of all, that thing is garbage. It's barely going to filter out a tiny bit of chlorine and maybe some lead. Secondly, most people don't ever change those things on a regular basis. So in a pinch, if I need to like get a tincture, I'll go to my fridge filter and I'll get a tiny water out of my fridge to take a shot of some herbs. But even then, the whole house filter's already run it before the fridge filter.
Yeah, for the most part, those filters, I call them cosmetic filters because they're just designed to make the water taste and smell just a little bit cleaner. That's it. Yeah. But what we're talking about is more at a microscopic level, and it may not fully affect the taste and the flavor. So we want to do both. We want to have the purity. And this is really important because cryptosporidium is the topic of today, and that's going to be the main vector for that for most people is going to be water. So make sure your house is good. If you're someone that's going in a lake or streams or hiking a lot and drinking out of ponds and such, make sure you get a really good, like kind of one of those Berkey travel water bottles that you can run through. That's going to be super helpful. Ideally bring something with you just to make sure it is super clean.